Hey everybody, Radioactive here, and in this video, I am going to be removing the cap, the stock cap, off of a new solvent welded Hammershot. This one is an orange Hammershot, and I will be basically making the same thing as this, which is a Mega Dart Hammershot. Let's remove all this. I guess I could just break into it, but I do reuse these boxes when I am selling completed blasters. I don't need to do that one. I do need to do this one. Alright. Hopefully I keep this thing in the view of the camera. What's... oh, okay. Darts, I keep those. Alright. And now we have the blaster separated from the box. Let's remove everything here. I probably need to put down like tape or something so I actually know where the boundaries of this thing are. So yeah, very obviously you just remove all, oh, how many are there? I think there's like 12. That'll go down very soon. If only I had a wireless drill. All right, and we're in. Take this out, toss it, put it in a bin. Take this out so we don't lose it. This we're not going to need. Remove the spring. It's a pretty good spring. That aside, and now we are left with this. I like to then remove... oh, that is... that's not good. That's a little bit stripped right there. From factory. Take these out. Put them off to the side. And then make sure you don't lose your trigger. There's this tab right here. I don't actually know how close I am on this. So you have to press up with your thumb on this and down with your pointing finger on here to do that. And then kind of, there goes the trigger. Do it again. Yep. And there we go. This out of the way. We are left with this. Now, as you can see, again, I don't know how close. Let me check. As you can see, there's that little bit of solvent weld around the outside. Now, the way I like to go about doing this is take yourself some tin snips. You snip that. That went flying somewhere. You snip that on that side and then try to get it as low as possible. You can see it's basically just a flat piece in there. And then you work it. Now I don't really care about the stock foam. I replace that. You gotta pull this up so that it is side on. Then you reach in there and you cut it. Now, looks like this one's going to be difficult, so you use these little nubs right here to twist it around. You're being difficult. Come on, damn thing. There we go. And then just snip through the rest. Okay, now it should be broken in two, and you should be able to reach in. I don't have tweezers right here. All right, well, just use your, yes, and work it out. All right, that's come out. The spring, we don't really care about that. That can go away. And now, oh, we cut through the spring. We just try to get the rest of these parts out. Should still be a bit of spring in there. I don't see where it went. Maybe it fell out somewhere. No idea. Oh, was that it? Nope. Okay, so the foam is perfectly fine. This is the minimum you need to do a cylinder upgrade. Perfectly fine. Now, I then say, since I'm getting rid of this cap, I say, screw it. And just start cutting in. I take some needle nose pliers and strip that back, being careful to not damage any of the white plastic of the plunger tube, because that's the part you need. Cut. Reach in there. Pull it out. Just peel it. Do it again. Oh, you see that? That one broke through. So now what we can do is we can just take this whole bit, pull it around, and it's broken this off, which we are going to cut off anyway. And now, there it is. Now you can just kind of squeeze your flathead underneath. Careful not to hurt yourself. I've done that way too often. Like that. There's still a piece here that we can remove. And it peels off just like that. Now, there are still bits and pieces. Usually I cut this. This one just happened to peel off, but usually I go in and I cut behind it, or I use where'd my X-Acto knife go? There it is. I use my X-Acto knife to cut through the outside so we don't get these gouges right here that can potentially kill your seal. I don't think that has happened with this, so we're good. Okay, good. You want to make sure that this is flat. This is flat. You want to get rid of as much of this as possible. Just use an X-Acto knife cut through. Yeah. The next thing we want to do is go in here, and you see these three little like ribs that are connecting this middle piece in. You want to just go in with your tin snips and cut it out. Very easy, very simple. You see that there are these little bits left over. You want to make those as flush as possible. You do not want anything sticking up into where your cap is going to go. Alright. That one was good. Be careful not to damage the inside of the plunger tube or the plunger tube itself. You're just wanting to get all this little extra bit off as much as possible. It can be difficult sometimes. Just gotta get it all off, or else I didn't mean the face, or else the cap, I don't think I have one handy. Yes I do. Or the cap will not sit flush. Now, I'm going to pause here and get the rest of this stuff off and make sure that this edge is flat, and I will get back to you. Alright, we're back, and I have cleared off as much as I felt was necessary. Now, I did kind of bevel this inside edge just a little bit, and I did clean off the seam that was on, I can't remember which side, but there was a seam on one of these corners here that I did have to remove. Now, the way you want to set this up, you want the end of the plunger tube, the one that the cap was on, to be this way, and this to be to the top. So this to the front of the blaster, this on top, and you want this to be to the bottom in this orientation. So push it together, check to make sure it's flush, and it is flush. And so now you have to pull it off. Alright, now what we will do, I have some clear silicone that I will push down into this channel right here, and then I will press this together and let it sit for, I typically try to wait 24 hours, but I end up waiting probably like 36 or 48. Not a big deal. So yeah, I will do that next. I will come back to you once this is completely glued on. Alright, now that it's been 24 hours, we can put on the foam. Let me see if I do have one. And we're going to use our super glue to put it on. Now, this is what I use. It's just brush on super glue. I try to do this all in one shot, so I put a copious amount around where I'm putting this thing. Line it up and press. Alright, that should be on there. Ooh, this is still a little bit tacky. This might take a little bit longer than 24 hours to fully dry, but it is dry enough for this video, I guess. Alright, so that's perfectly put on there. And now you have your plunger tube complete. Now, if you have an old style Hammershot, then you can just take off the hinges, take off the cap, and then do what I did around in the middle, and you're good. You don't have to go through the trouble of cutting up or breaking the solvent welds. And if this was the regular cap, then you would be done. You would put this back in the blaster and it would be completed. But it's not. So what we are going to do is take, where did I put it? It's up here. We're going to take the cylinder that we're going to use, clean out whatever little bits and pieces you have in there. You can tell this is obviously brand new. You just cut off these pieces if your printer likes to make them for whatever reason. I only get them on the top. Oh, I lied. There's actually some in the very bottom. Nope, that just fell back down there. Alright, so with the screws that I use, I actually have to cut off this piece. And this is how I do it. You start it off and you get your screwdriver and screw it all the way down. Alright. Now, occasionally, if you don't have your bed completely leveled, you will have a elephant's foot on the bottom here. But that should be fine. You do need to remove the supports here. And that got all the supports. And here it is, a rotator. Now, you are going to take this and check to make sure it fits. It does not. It must have some elephant's foot. Or it could be the same messing with us again. I do need to fix that, instead of having to work this myself manually. It could just be printed properly. Alright, did that fix it? You see I get a little bit of a bevel here using this tool. I'm going to grab one that I have off to the side for testing purposes. That's a little bit tight. So I am going to take this. I'm going to find out where the seam is. It's on this side. And I'm going to try to eat away at it just a little bit. Get it all the way down. Give it a nice little all the way around it, just to get all the artifacts and such out. Where'd I put that thing? There it is. Test it again. Nice and easy. Alright, perfect. Put this back where I had it. And now test fit. Good, good, good. Drop your screw all the way down and... Actually, I missed a step. Hold on. Occasionally I get ahead of myself. You see there is a little bit of a seam on this side. Now, I like to get rid of those. I'm not sure how much it actually affects anything, but tolerances can be kind of crazy. So I kind of shave down the outside, and then I try to get 90 degrees cut straight, so that we're not causing any problems with the rotator bar getting stuck or anything like that. Alright, now it should be good, and now we can put this all together. So if you are still on this video, that means that you have an intermediate kit, either by itself or from the high power Hammershot bundle. Now, we have the cylinder done. You are going to take your Hammershot. You're going to take this, and instead of putting it into the back, you're going to stuff it right here. Now, you're actually going to want to cut this piece off. Just this little part, not the eye part. Just a little tab that sticks up. Oh, there is a little bit of flash from where it was injection molded. So we're actually going to take an X-Acto knife to it to try and get that flash taken care of. It's a little bit difficult when you're trying to hold this thing away from you and not block the camera and everything. Alright, now we can cut. Take it off and make sure that that's a flush cut. It is. Very good. Alright, give it a test. It doesn't go back far enough. So you see that there is a gap here. Now, to show you that it definitely is not far enough, you're going to put this all together, and this sticks out quite a bit. There is no way that we're going to get this in here, especially because I have not cut off this. This is a Mega Hammershot after all. So what we are going to do is cut. Where is my... Here it is. I'll put it off to the side. You are going to mark the cut. Now, I like to do as close to this part as possible without making a huge gap in it. And right down this line. So, right where it cuts off at this, you go down. So, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll get back to you. Alright. And we're done. So now, you see what I like to do is I like to screw these together, now that it's basically trash. I'm going to unscrew it. Now, you can use this as the front of your cylinder. These are basically Nerf screws. The head's a little bit bigger, but I have 1,000 of them, so I might as well use them. Also, screw this together. But now it's garbage. And I do screw this together. Now, I like to use a magnet. They're all the screws on this are all the exact same, at least on the outside. So I like to use a magnet, and I just put them on the magnet. Okay, now, oh, I need to clean this out. All right, now make sure this spins pretty easily. Yeah, that's good. Now what we do, we can check, we can get back to this and check it. And you can see we are already touching the plunger. And we're not even getting past this part. So we need to shave it down just a little bit. So I feel like a good way to do this is just try and get it at this point in time so that the bottom of this eye shape goes into this little slot. So you will have to cut off a little bit of this and a little bit of this. Cut away 1/2 millimeter, 1 millimeter at a time. For this one, I believe, yeah, so it's touching, so we can just cut straight down here. Ooh, it's proven difficult. Alright. Make sure it is flush. Alright, and we've done that. So now let's try again. We're still hitting on here. We still have not reached this slot, so it doesn't, like, do that. And now we're also touching here. So, let's cut this part off now. The exact same way we did the last. And I like to use the tin snips on this part. It's a little bit easier. Once we cut the thin part, we will go back to just using the X-Acto knife. Make sure that this is cut flush. And now we will take a look at it again. Still not in that slot, but no longer touching here. So let's remove about the same length as the bottom of the eye from this side. So that'll be about let's say that much. We don't need it to be perfect first time because we can continue to make small cuts to improve fit. Now try it again. Oop, put it in the wrong way. Try it again. Oh, okay, now look, we are reaching that slot. Now that we've reached that slot, let's try this again. You can kind of see that the plastic, oh, I wonder if that was blinding y'all or if that was helping. We're gonna keep it. You can see that the plastic, the orange plastic of the cap for the intermediate kit is about equal with this back area. So we can now try, see if this will fit. Sort of. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good fit. So now what we want to do is give it just a smidge more, like the tiniest amount. So I think what you can see here is there is a wall right here, and this back eye is not quite touching that wall. So let's cut. So I am very experienced at this, so I will use an X-Acto knife. However, I would recommend you take a file to it. Like, not a round file, like this file right here. Ooh, excuse me. I guess you could even use this one, just be sure not to accidentally file into the plunger tube, or you can even use a bigger one. I will be using an X-Acto. So, get the smallest amount we can. Alright, and the smallest amount, just shaving off a little bit. Alright, now try it again. And now that's basically touching. Let's give it another check. Now we don't need it to always, actually it's worse if you have it forcibly pushed up against the foam the whole time. That could actually use a little bit more. You want this to actually be able to move just a little bit. So what you can now do, because we're basically touching the wall on the back here, is take your file. I will use a file for this. I like to use this big file. And try to... You see this ledge in here? Now you can cut that. You could probably get a Dremel in there. I'll use this because it is exactly the right size. I use the side of it and bring it down. Make sure we're not putting shavings into our blaster. Alright, now check, see if that fit. If it now doesn't interact, nope, it needs just a little bit more. Alright, that should be good. It should be reduced just enough for this back eye to now be able to fit into that slot. Now we're going to cut off just a smidge more. From these supports, whatever you want to call them. Alright, now that's probably about a millimeter, 3/4 of a millimeter, whatever. Obviously we have area right there and area over there. So we did not actually give it enough room to be able to press back in there. So we're gonna go back at it again. Now you see there's a little bit of flash right there. I guess that's what you call it. So let's just kind of get rid of that from where we were sanding away at it, filing away at it. Try it again. Alright. Try it one more time. And it goes back all the way easily. No problems. It's basically being hidden now. And we will test fit one more time. There's a lot of test fitting in this. Put this all together. Alright, now there is just the smallest amount of movement. Now what I used to do is actually glue a piece of plastic here and a piece of plastic here and put a spring to press up against that, but we want to keep rotation. So, now that we have this completed, we know exactly where we want this to be. We can now move on to this. Whoop. Now, put it all together, and you see it's being stopped here. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it. There is a shadow right here, and we have quite a bit of room. Quite a bit of room. So what we now want to do is figure out where we want this to end. So I do know exactly, well, pretty close anyway, where these cuts need to be made. I believe this is one of the Hammershots that I can just yank this off. Yes, it is. So, you cut, you see this slot? Just continue it. Take your tin snips, or your X-Acto if you have to use your X-Acto, and make it like so. Now you will need to clean it up just a little bit. There is a little bit of a taper on the top just to allow the thing to move. There is a little bit of taper on the bottom, and it does get thicker here. So you do want to try and ease that transition. Just ease that transition. Alright. Now, that should be good. We may have to get rid of a little bit of this part, but we will see. So, put this all back together, if it'll allow you. Alright, now we put our drivetrain, that's what I call it anyway, powertrain, whatever, all the way back, all back in. And see how it goes. Yes, you see that this gray piece is now what is causing the issue, and there is still about 7 millimeters left of draw that we are missing out on. Well, I guess it's the same amount of draw. It's just, no, it's not. We are missing out on draw. Ignore me. At least for that part. So, take out this part again, and we are going to just see this part coming out. We are just going to snip that to where it curves that way. Put it back together. Now this part is way easier on these new Hammershots because it is not solvent welded. Like, I'm not quite sure why they decided this didn't need solvent weld on this one, but the cap did. Makes no sense to me. Okay, so now we are hitting the gray bit again. And we still have a few millimeters that we can grab. Alright, so now the next part, the next thing to do is, I don't know if you can see where it kind of swoops down and then cuts off right here. We are then going to just try and cut that off. Check if that did the trick. Put it all back together. Put this back on. Oh, where did our part go? Hello? Here it is. It fell off the back. That's another difference between these. This is usually captive on the new Hammershots, but on these old ones, it just falls straight through. Ooh, don't want that getting in the plunger tube. Alright, put it all together. Check it out. Still not all the way. Alright, well, one more cut. You see this little lip coming out. We just want to basically cut that flat. I'm going to use an X-Acto this time. Make sure you don't hurt yourself. I know it is popular to believe that blood sacrifices make your Hammershots better, but I can tell you that I have no evidence to deny that, as I have hurt myself modding every single Hammershot I have ever made, and apparently they're all very strong. But seriously, do not hurt yourself. Alright. And okay. We have reached the end of travel. So, pull this out and you're going to want to basically copy the difference on this side. Make sure you take out your screws first. All right. Pull this out. Copy it. Whew, that went flying. Make sure it's smooth and you're not pinching the hammer and lowering performance. Ow. Taper. There's a little bit of alright, and now I'm pretty sure a bunch of y'all are cringing seeing me cutting towards myself here. No shit, Radioactive. Of course you're getting hurt. You use an X-Acto X-Acto knife like a caveman. Yeah, well, ooga booga. Alright, got that done. Now we take this, cut, 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 and make sure it's flat, it's nice and pretty. this back together. Make sure it is equal. Yeah. That looks pretty good. Okay, cool. Try it out. Yeah, yep. Looks good, looks good, looks good. Now, the most difficult part of this, I feel like, let me just remove these screws from this internal piece. Now, you have this, and you see there is a little buffer here. Well, let's just put this together. Let's not even consider the trigger right now. So it stops it right there. That's basically how it was before. And this is why I tell people that AR removal is perfectly fine. There is literally a part, a silicone part already in the blaster to lower the energy in a dry fire. Soak up that energy. Damn it. So what we now have to do is we have to start cutting off bits and pieces of the elephant nose, as I like to call it. So go about halfway. Make your snips around the outside. So that they are equal. And then cut through the middle, across this. Safety squints because this is going to go wild. Now, clean up any jagged bits and pieces. Put it back in. Test the fit. Needs a little bit more. You can see that it is not able to go all the way down. Oh, you don't need to take that whole thing out. Alright. Take. This is actually some very brittle plastic on this part. I don't know if it's so much brittle as it is strong. I don't know. It does like to kind of ping off in random directions. Went flying again. Alright. Make sure that it's smooth, flat, no jagged bits and pieces, nothing that can fall off, hurt your seal, tear up your O-rings, dig into your silicone bit here. Alright, get that test one more time. I feel like I've taken off too much there. Unfortunate. Now it is being stopped here, as well as, yeah, it's touching there. So it is hitting here and here and here at the exact same time. Now this is the same kind of idea that the bird of prey that Chris Cartea uses. So it hits the plunger head. It hits the back of the plunger, but this one has a third point. Alright, so that is done. We can take this part off. And now we get to the point that is... Well, I guess I keep saying that, don't I? It's just very irritating. This whole mod, honestly. Alright, so we got that. It's caught. This goes back to here. And now it hits. So we are going to have to remove quite a bit of the thing here. And this also hits. So that is also going to have to be removed. Now, I use a Dremel for these. So I will get back to you once I'm done with the Dremel. Alright. Now, let's test the fit. So you don't be afraid to cut into this. Alright, don't be afraid. There's plenty of space. This, don't be afraid to cut into. Don't cut too far and try not to cut into this part. Let's test. So, all the way forward. Plenty of space. Trigger back. Plenty of space. Alright, so now we should be good to button this all up and give it a test shot. I'll go ahead and do that. I'm not going to do a bunch of test shots because I do still feel like this this is a little bit tacky and I don't want to tear anything up because I do plan on selling this Hammershot. Make sure the threads are lined up. So for this kinds of Hammershot mods with the intermediate kit, you do need a spacer. It's just, you can't get around it. It is required. It is a requirement. So, one last set of tests. Alright, I do feel like this plunger does need a little bit more cut off. So, that's what we're going to give it. Just a smidge more. Sometimes that's all it needs. Alright, now we should be perfectly good. Plenty of space for movement, but not enough space that it can't grab on. A better O-ring will pull this back as well. You do want to put a little bit of lube on here. Alright, so we have all of this put together. Now it's time for the spring. Now, you can with a fresh spring. You won't get any spring rattle here. But with springs that are even just a little bit worn down, you will, and it's just very annoying. It's not very consistent. You can just shove that in there. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't care. Oh, you know what? I might have forgotten something. Which happens to the best of us. So you do want to make sure that this, and it doesn't, see, that's a good thing I checked. It doesn't actually fit on there. So this has been fixed. This is just an old spacer, or the old type of spacer. Still not really fitting. Let's get our big round file. Kind of file around the inside. Now, really, this should not be needed for you, but do make sure that your plunger spring guide rod fits on this. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it could be printer problems. I did make this a little bit bigger in the latest version, which is the live version at this point in time. And let's give it another test. Nope, still problems. Still really, really tight on there. Sometimes it needs a little bit more. Let's give it some more. Now, you might be able to get a Dremel or drill or something in here. But it's not that difficult to do. Now it does look like it kind of fits well enough there, but then it starts having problems. But it's not as difficult as it was before. Do a little bit more. That's quite a lot of modding, it seems like. You just try a little bit at a time until it works. And if you don't do that, then you've done too much. Alright, so this spacer should work perfectly with all stock length and stock compression type springs. This is an Orange ModWorks 8, and you can kind of see that there's a few more coils in there. So you do need different types or different length of spacer. Jeez. This one is about 5 millimeters less than this one, and they both get max compression. So, let me put this back up here. That is for my 150 FPS Hammershot. Alright. Another test. I'm gonna give it just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. It's very close, but with friction being such a big problem, you do kind of want to get as much of it out as possible. You will want to put in some lube on the inside of this just to reduce friction as much as possible, because in a system like the Hammershot, friction is a huge killer. It just like weight. Everything, all negatives of any kind of system are just exponentially increased in a Hammershot, just because of the type of system it is. It is a hammer, it is a lever, so all negatives, there we go, all negatives will hurt it quite a bit more. And positives, they will help. Any speed is multiplied. It is a speed multiplication lever. So any load against working against it is also basically multiplied. Alright. Let's do this. I think the pin has actually fallen just a little bit too far through on this one, or perhaps it's a little bit short. Interesting. So yeah, the pin on this is just a tad short. So it is kind of causing problems there. See, it's the little things. It's the little things at this point that do the most damage. Alright. See, it's not bending as much there. Perfect. Alright. I'm going to button it all up and I'll get back to you and I'll do some FPS testing. Alright. Now, it's time for the test. These are stock Nerf Mega Darts, standard Nerf Mega Darts, and this is a Saturnus. Let me see if I can aim this in a way that it's not gonna hurt anything. Interesting. It didn't fire. Alright. 39. 52. 51. Error, but it was basically the exact same. Interesting. Alright, so as you can see, the average, I don't know if you can actually see that or not, but the average is 47, so it was getting up there. So, I wonder, you see this little bit of movement in the plunger tube, or in the cylinder. We can fix that. So the good thing about having a screw in the front is you can unscrew it just a tad to put a little bit more tension. So that is what we're going to do here. That's what we're going to attempt. We're going to tune together and see if that has a positive effect. Now, for some reason, Mega Hammershots do seem to be a little bit more difficult to work with. Like, they'll do 60 FPS on stock spring and a spacer and intermediate kit, but then they'll also not fire at all. So, just remove that and unscrew a little bit. Put this back on. That's not moving. Let's give it just a little bit more tension. Alright. So now, give me a moment. I'm going to go and grab my darts. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was quick. Exact same darts. Oof. Sit back in my damn chair. Oh, you're shaking. Okay. Now we are not going to cut here because I want to show you the kinds of things that sometimes are just needed to be done. So we will see if that did help and if that affected rotation any, because that is another big part. Rotation can be very finicky. Now I have kind of figured out a little bit how to work that out. I mean, when you design your own rotators, you can fix any problem with just the change of the file. You can also ask me and see if I have any other rotator files available. If you have broken yours, if you are really hard on your hammer shots, you need something just a little bit stronger. Like, I did release an extra strength 8-shot rotator because somebody kept trying to manually rotate while it was primed. Alright, so that's all together. That's all good. Let's get this and load up again. Oh, that seems a little bit too stiff. Might have to undo that again. 51. 51. 54. 39. Okay, much, much better. Let me go grab those again. I need to build a dart catch instead of just firing them into the corner of my room. It's like the one thing I don't have. I typically use a pillow or roll up my covers. Alright, let's see if this is consistent or not. Because 4 shots, rotation does seem fine. 57. $42. 54. 47. Okay, not bad. Is there anything else we can do to increase it? And it looks like that rotation is fixed. Is there anything else that we can do? Yes. Let me see if I can find it. No. I don't know if that's it's EPDM. No, that's 3mm. Where did I put you at? You think somebody like me would be a little bit more organized. That is not the case. It's just not the case. No. Reflex 6, reflex 6. That's an X ring. Reflex 6. No, that's not metric. Reflex 6. Not metric. Not metric. X ring. It'll always literally be the last thing you grab, isn't it? O-rings. So a standard O-ring is a little bit smaller. It's a little bit thinner outer diameter. But the cross section is typically, it's about 3mm, but it's a little bit smaller outer diameter. So if you can get a, a 27mm outer diameter, or thereabouts, O-ring, then you should be good. But I am planning to provide these in an updated basic kit, physical basic kit, and an updated intermediate kit. Now the issue with these are, so these are 2mm cross section. Those only work with the new generation Hammershots with the orange internals. 3mm cross section, it helps with consistency, but doesn't actually increase FPS. These 2mm on this new type of Hammershot, I feel does increase FPS quite a bit. I did testing on a completely stock one, and it showed about a 13%, about 10 FPS increase. So, yeah. Take all this apart. Take it all apart. Now, I think, yep, you can just do that to get to this. Now I'm going to put this right here. On a paper that I have, because I've done a lot of O-ring testing, so I actually have like a paper with everything on it to show. Put it on. Take some of the sweet, sweet slug slime. That's what I use anyway. Put it in. Alright, that's all lubed up. Now, check out this. It's not as good as if you just had it out. Now let's put this all back together and see how this affects things. So this should, really what this should do is increase consistency quite a lot more, but it should also improve FPS just a tad. Not like a whole bunch. But it should help. Damn it, come on. Why are you being difficult now? Okay. Jeez. Okay, what I am going to do is I'm actually going to put lube in the front of this, because I didn't do that before. So that should help a little bit with rotation, because it does feel a little bit heavy, and we don't want heavy rotation. We want this to be nice and smooth. We have this as a stock spring for a reason. Alright. Spring in. That in. Alright. This all back together. So I did get a high of 59 FPS in my testing, like right before, just to make sure it did work. But I did see that same messy, really inconsistent kind of problems that we had before, that literally the first shot showed. But now we seem to have gotten past that. There does seem to be a single dart that is not performing quite well. I don't know if it's the exact same dart or it's actually a chamber. We will figure that out. Damn it. Okay, there we go. Put everything back together. I know this is kind of boring, but I do want to show without any cuts. Let me get my darts. Without any cuts, that this is how it's done. These are the kinds of things that need to be done sometimes. And these are the kinds of things that I do for my blasters. This is how Radioactive mods his Hammershots. Get this. $48, $44, $54, $40. Interesting. Interesting. It did seem to be a little bit more consistent, but it was a little bit down on power compared to before. Oh, that's probably the dart that's screwy. Let me put this back and get a new one. That dart's, all these mega darts have been basically destroyed by a Ranger Series sniper, so forgive me for that. Do a lot of testing with the Ranger Series sniper. Oh, that one felt heavy. Like a lot of friction going in. All right. 59, 58, 52, 55. Awesome, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go grab those again, do another test just to make sure that that is consistent. And if it is, that looks like we're done. Oh, shit. All right, same darts. 59 and 58 FPS. Very, very nice numbers, especially for stock spring. I'm sure this would do 70, 75, 80 perhaps on an 8 kilogram. .61 FPS. I don't know how well that comes out again. 55, 56, 52. Very good. Well, we got this perfect. All right. So, this is how Radioactive mods a Hammershot. So, if you have any more questions, please let me know. I'm probably going to link this to all of my Etsy stuff because this does show everything. This shows how you would take apart the plunger in this type and old type, how you would put on a intermediate and dead space filler cap, how you put in the spacer, the different types of spacers, why you need one in the first place, how to tune your seal, how to tune intermediate kit and put it all together and make sure it works. And then, oh, you're not getting the performance that you're expecting. How do we increase that? And what are the steps that we can take to improve performance? How do we go that little bit further? Right. Remember to like and subscribe for more of this. This is going to be a really long video. Kudos to you if you've stayed this long. This is probably going to be over an hour's worth of video, honestly. And this is, again, my first top-down video. And I really need to work on that shake. That's probably very irritating. Maybe nausea-inducing. So all these mods, they're basically the exact same thing I do for all of my cylinders. So you can do a mega cylinder, or, well, there's that shaking again, I bet. Oh, that almost fell on my face. That would not have been good. Or you can do it with a high power Hammershot. This is doing 126 FPS high on worker bamboo half darts. See how easy that rotates? Oh, I bet that would increase a little bit of performance. Oh, you're shaking again. I'm sorry. So, yeah, pretty much this is exactly how I do all of my Hammershots. You just got to do a little bit of extra stuff for like, oh, you got to put these in, you got to glue in and do all that stuff. But, yeah, this should show you exactly how it's done. No more asking me for in-depth videos on how to do it, because I've done it. So again, don't be afraid to ask questions, either through Etsy or the comment section below, or Discord. I'm also on Facebook, Radioactive Designs. I probably will link to this, because as soon as this video uploads, this will be ready to sell. I believe the Dead Space filler cap mega Hammershot that I do, that's $75, so this might be $85 just because of the intermediate kit and how much more stuff you have to do to it to get it to that point. So, yeah. This has been Radioactive, signing off.